Welcome to the Quotive Corner. Today's quote is a short one, but it comes from a source that surprises most people, and it points towards something about human psychology that Freud spent his entire career circling without always naming this cleanly. How bold one gets when one is sure of being loved. That's from Sigmund Freud. And here's the context that makes it interesting. He didn't write this in a clinical paper or a theoretical treatise. He wrote it in a private letter to Martha Bernays, the woman he was engaged to, on June 27, 1882. He was 26 years old. The letter was eventually published in Letters of Sigmund Freud, 1873 to 1939. This isn't Freud the theorist or psychologist. This is Freud the young man, writing to the person he loved, and accidentally saying something that would outlast almost everything else he ever put on paper. So, what is he actually saying? On the surface, it reads like a love letter observation. When you feel secure in someone's affection, you feel freer, warmer, more like yourself. That makes intuitive sense, and most people have felt some version of it. But the deeper implication is worth pulling apart, because it says something specific about where boldness actually comes from. We tend to think of boldness as a personality trait. Either you have it or you don't. Some people are naturally confident, willing to take risks, willing to speak up, willing to step into uncertain situations without flinching. Others aren't. That's how we usually frame it. Freud is suggesting something different. He's suggesting that boldness is not primarily a fixed trait. It's a condition. It's something that gets activated or suppressed depending on the emotional environment a person is operating in. And the specific condition that unlocks it is a certainty of being loved. Think about what certainty of being loved actually provides. It provides a safety net, not a physical one, an emotional one. When you know that someone genuinely cares for you, that their regard for you isn't contingent on your performance or your perfection or your ability to never make a mistake, something relaxes. The defensive crouch loosens. The energy you are spending on managing how you're perceived becomes available for something else, and what you do with that freed energy is, you get bold. You say the thing you'd otherwise keep to yourself. You try the thing you'd otherwise talk yourself out of. You take the risk you'd otherwise calculate away. Not because you've suddenly become a different person, but because the stakes of failure have changed. Failure in front of someone who loves you unconditionally lands differently than failure in front of someone whose approval you're still trying to earn. Freud built his career on the idea that the earliest experiences of being loved, or not loved, or inconsistently loved, leave marks that shape behavior in ways people often can't see or explain. The child who grows up with secure, reliable love tends to develop what psychologists now call secure attachment, a baseline confidence that the world is navigable, that relationships are safe, that taking risks won't result in total abandonment. The child who doesn't, who grows up uncertain whether love will show up or vanish, tends to develop strategies for managing that uncertainty. Strategies that often look like timidity, people-pleasing, avoidance, or a chronic need for external validation. What's striking about this quote is that Freud wasn't writing psychology when he wrote it. He was writing from personal experience. He was 26, newly in love, and noticing in real time what it felt like to have someone in his corner, and what it felt like was free. That connection between love and freedom runs deeper than romance. We see it in mentorship, the student who flourishes under a teacher who genuinely believes in them, not despite their struggles, but through them. We see it in leadership, which Major Dick Winters embodied as well as anyone. The team that performs without fear because the people leading them have made clear that honest effort is valued over perfect outcomes. We see it in creative work, where the artist who has a safe relationship with a trusted collaborator or partner tends to take more interesting risks than the one who is working constantly under judgment. In every case, the dynamic is the same. Security doesn't make people complacent. It makes them bold. Now, the honest pushback. There's a version of this that can tip into dependency. If boldness only arrives when someone else provides the certainty of love, then boldness becomes contingent on external conditions, which is a fragile foundation. The most durable version of this quality is probably the one that becomes internalized over time, where enough experience of being securely loved has built a kind of inner security that persists even when the external source isn't present. That's a developmental process, not a switch. And it's worth naming because some people are waiting for the right person or the right relationship to finally feel bold, when the deeper work is learning to extend some of that certainty toward themselves. Alan Cohen put it plainly in a quote we looked at earlier: "Agree only with the truth about you, and you are free." There's a version of that kind of self-trust that doesn't require someone else to hand it to you first, though, and this matters, most people need to receive it from someone else before they learn to generate it from within. The sequence Freud is describing is usually how it starts. There's also something quietly generous in this quote, if you let it point outward rather than inward. If boldness is something that love unlocks in people, then the love you extend to others, genuinely, reliably, without conditions, is itself an act of liberation. You are literally making other people more capable, more willing to risk, more fully themselves. That's not a small thing. Freud wrote this to a woman he loved in a moment of personal recognition. He probably wasn't thinking about developmental psychology or leadership theory or the ripple effects of secure attachment. He was just noticing, with the honest attention of someone in love, that he felt more like himself than he ever had. Thanks for being here at the Quotive Corner. If this one made you think about someone who made you bolder just by being in your corner, or someone whose corner you might step into more fully, think about it for a moment. As always, know that wisdom isn't in the quote, it's in the reflection. I'll catch you in the next episode.